Are you ready to harness the power of AI to elevate your podcasting game? Well, I'm sitting down with Deirdre, one of the founders of Capsho, to explore how this AI tool is changing the landscape for content creators. As a longtime Capsho user, I've experienced firsthand the magic of this platform, from creating an alter ego brand to being able to expand my production business tenfold without having to hire another staff for copywriting. Capsho is way different than any other AI tools in the market. And what sets them apart? They actually listen to their users and then create based on what the Capshovians' feedback is. This means not only do you get AI copyright directly from your words, it learns as you change things. It has different features that allow you to create images, clips, and so much more. Not only that, they have talked to experts in every platform and designed the content that actually works specifically for those platforms without pulling some random BS from the internet. So, if you want to level up your podcast without taking all the time in the world and spraying and praying, this episode is for you. Are you ready? Let's go! Welcome to Beyond the Downloads, the show that dives deeper than stats and charts to reveal the real impact of your podcast. I'm Jennifer Dragonette, founder of the Bold Action Collective, where we believe that bold moves truly spark transformation. Each week, we explore how your unique story, passion, and purpose can create powerful connections that will change lives, yours and those of your listeners. If you're ready to go beyond the metrics, embrace bold action, and unleash the life raft potential of your podcast, you're in the right space. Let's go. Now, before you get into this episode, I want to give you this special offer that they have given me so graciously to share with you as an OG Capshovian. You can grab Capsho for free for 14 days to test out the magic on your own. And if you use my name, Jennifer, at checkout, you will get 50% off for life. That means you lock in the best deal to get the best AI VA for your podcast and business. Trust me, after listening to this, how to create content with and without AI, you are going to want to get on this offer. I am really excited because we're talking AI today, and we are talking with my favorite AI tool that I have found in my podcasting journey. And we're talking with the founder of Capsho. Deirdre, I am really excited to have you back, and we are going to break down this whole AI thing because I think it's overwhelming and it doesn't have to be. So welcome.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thanks. I'm so honored to be here, Jen. And yes, we can get into the nitty gritty. I know that AI, there's like so much buzz around AI and it's incredibly overwhelming, but I will try to make this as simple as possible for all the podcasters out there.
So I know as a user, Capsho is different, but I don't fully understand why it's different. I just know that you make my life so much easier as a podcaster where I'm not spending as much time, quote unquote, tweaking. Can you kind of tell us like what kind of made Capsho stand out in this way? Because like I don't understand why it's working, but it's working great.
Thank you. Yeah. So just by way of context, Capsho, we launched Capsho mid 2022, which is like, before the hype of AI, before ChatGPT launched mass, all of that sort of stuff. And when we first launched, it was literally, we were like, it was magic, right? Like the first people who saw it, and I think that might have been when we might have first met, Jen, at the Podfest. Yeah, even back in when we were in beta days. And it was like, you upload an audio file, and all our main aim at that point in time, this is, we're talking 2.5 years ago, was just to, is that right? Did I get the maths right? 2.5 years ago? Yeah, I think so. Was just to get written show notes done for podcasters, right? And it was almost like, in a way, it didn't really matter about the quality, but people were just blown away with the fact that they were like, oh my gosh, I said this and now I'm seeing written like text in basically like what it was about. And so that was kind of what started the Capsho journey. And then through then AI really became a thing with ChatGPT launching kind of end of 2022, early 2023. And then obviously there was a huge slew of competitors as well to Capsho that came into the market. And we we really started talking to our Capshovians about how do we just make their lives easier and easier. And so when we built this iteration, this version of Capsho, we really put a lot of thinking and engineering into how we call it soft learning. So essentially, every time that a user makes any edits to the assets that Capsho creates for them and they click the mark as complete button, our backend automatically, our brain, our engine automatically learns from those edits and it applies it to the next draft that comes. And I know, Jen, you're nodding along. You probably experienced this yourself. Do you want to talk about your own experience and how you found the self-learning component of Capsho?
I just think with it, it's really cool because it picks up my quirks. Like everyone says like sleazy, I say skeezy. Capsho now says skeezy in my writing. Capsho uses, I say, a tsunami of change instead of like a ripple. Capsho has now learned how to use it in the right context. And that blows my mind. It's like there's so many other, I have tried them all. I will be the first to admit I went to Capsho and then I went to some of these other people that came out afterwards. I was like, competitors don't have anything. They still don't have anything because I'm in the industry. So I like to test things. But I just love that it's me. It sounds like me. It says dumb things that I say that necessarily aren't dumb things. I shouldn't say they're dumb, but are very me, like
Yes.
quirky like me. And what's really cool with, I mean, I'm getting further into this because I love how it does this, is like I have an alter ego, an alter brand, and I can, it's also programmed and learned her style. And I am blown away every time I go in there and I'm like, okay, we go from Jen, like prim and proper, like more of this, the Beyond the Downloads Dragonette production. And then I have a spicy brand. And let me tell you, your spicy AI is very spicy. And it's really fun because nobody else offers that.
Yeah.
Like it's very unique from the user side.
That's super cool because that kind of goes into one of the other things that we created, which is this concept of personas inside of Capsho, where we were like, okay, it can, from the self-learning perspective and learning your tone of voice and how you like to speak. We also know that exactly what you talked about, like some people have different personas. Maybe they have multiple podcasts or maybe even multiple channels where they speak a little bit differently depending on where they are. And so we were like, okay, well, let's actually allow Capshovians to create different personas and actually then train Capsho for that specific persona. And that's exactly what you're talking about, which is like you've got one end, which is, as you said, prim and proper to a very spicy. And they're very different outputs.
Yeah. And the great thing is also as a producer, I can do my clients through there too. Like there's always going to be tweaking in AI. Like I don't care how great AI is going to be. You need to read it. You need to make sure. But what I love about Capsho is it's not pulling from everywhere else. At least that's what it seems like to me. Like I don't get random facts that I didn't say like other quote unquote competitors, because there's not really a competitor out there.
Oh, thank you. That's the highest praise that you could give us.
So that's kind of like where I wanted to go with this, is like every time I get an email from Capsho, I'm excited. Who is excited when they get, information from their tech company? Not normally, but from Capsho, it's like, oh, what did you just do to make it easier? So I kind of want to know, as you've been going through this journey and you've talked to us as Capshovians, like what are some of the things that you're really looking at that are helping podcasters move forward and not become part of what we're only 14% that make it now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's kind of, when we started out, that was our whole ethos. It's like, okay, how do we just make because podcasting is not an easy thing to do. I think we know that, Jen. Like the getting on the mic and talking is actually probably the simplest part. And then it's like everything else is just, it gets harder and harder. Oh, it feels right and very time consuming. And so that was kind of our whole aim was, okay, we started with the show notes. Like, how do we just make the show notes really, really easy for like to get, just so that people can publish their episode. And then after that, it was very much like, well, people then want an audience. Like they want to build an audience. They want to be able to use their content that they're creating on social media or in a blog post or on a LinkedIn newsletter or all these other places. And so that's kind of where we went. And I know, Jen, just before we hit record, we were talking about and I'd love to hear your experience about, we have like Capsho creates a lot of assets, and we'll get into a couple of the new things that it does as well. But from where we started, which is very much a text-based stuff, it still creates a ton of assets, blog posts, like, as I said, LinkedIn newsletter, YouTube description, the show notes, social media posts, like a lot of things. And we found that we didn't do it to be like, you have to do all of these things, but we did found that some people did not realize that and got quite overwhelmed. I'd love to hear your experience with that.
I was one of the second ones that got overwhelmed because it's so cool. And I think this is also one of like the issues with podcasting, right? Is because we know we need to market it because the SEO on a podcast is crap. And then we'll just be honest with that. Like the organic searchability for a podcast, you got to work hard to get that word of mouth. You got to work hard on the SEO, which yes, Capsho helps. But if you really want to build your show, you've got to pick somewhere else to show up. Even if that's like guesting, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to like head on over to social media. But when Capsho started giving me LinkedIn articles, blogs, YouTubes, to Twitter or X or whatever it's called, Facebook, Instagram, all the things, I was like, oh, well, it's already there for me. So why not use it all? I mean, like it's already created. But what I didn't realize is it did become overwhelming because I had to create the asset that went with it. It wasn't just the copy in a lot of the places. So it was like, okay, now I've got to build like this size for this and this size for that, until I stepped back and was like, okay, what's really necessary? It was overwhelming because it was all so good. And I have it all saved. Like the stuff from the original, I still have saved on a Trello board that I will go back to and use in content someday. But it was overwhelming. And that was like the one thing that I was like, okay, you have too many cool things. Like it was the too many cool things, the too many shiny objects, the raccoon with their hand in the jar and it's not letting go of the shiny object. And it wasn't until I think I was in one of the calls, one of the group coaching calls, and someone was like, you don't have to use it all. And I'm just focusing on this. And then it was like, mind blown. Let's just focus on these things. And that's what I'm doing right now. Because this year I'm going in on YouTube. Like podcasting will always be my first love, but hey, we got to do something that has a little less marketing involved.
Yes. And I think that's so important. It's like, even just hearing it sounds so simple, but it's like sometimes as humans, we just need the permission, or we just need someone external to us to be like, it's okay. Like, just because it's all there does not mean that you have to use it. In fact, don't touch it. We've started doing content planning workshops once a month for Capshovians and non-Capshovians. And the one thing that, Bonna's leading them, my co-founder, but we're so clear to be like, choose one, max two social media platforms. Like, that's it. And so basically, even for us, it's like, and then that's all you look at inside Capsho. Like that, you don't have to look at anything else. Just look at the ones that you've committed to being on. And so I think that's a really important. We talk about the mindset for all of us who are podcasters and trying to get our content out there. And it very much is like, hey, don't think that you have to be everywhere. Like that is a myth of the past. Let's debunk that, because it is all about quality over quantity. And that's really what, if we talk about the engineering behind Capsho, and thank you, Jen, for saying it's like so good, the outputs are so good, is because that's what we put a lot of effort into, is like, how do we just make the stuff that we're doing quality so that you don't feel like you have to be everywhere, and you just go into those platforms with quality rather than quantities. Yeah, that's an important piece of advice, I think, for everyone. Just don't think you have to be everywhere.
Right. And I love that you have like the coaching aspect. Like I did some of those in there. Granted, I've been with you guys. I'm an OG. I have the shirt.
Yeah,
I have the shirt. I could wear the shirt. But I think that planning it out, and I love that you have gone to other experts in different platforms. Like you had, I think it was like Kate. I think her name was Kate or something.
Katie,
come on. And she broke my brain because she's like, post 4 times a week. And
Yeah.
I noticed that in like Capsho in the back end now that you've worked on like not only your honey trap method, but you've taken
Yes.
some of these things that you've learned from other experts from Instagram, from this platform, from this platform. And I don't need to be an expert in all of these. You brought in other experts. So not only were you talking to us as podcast users and hosts and from the back end, but I love how you integrated this whole like marketing approach within.
Mm.
And this is again something that's very unique to Capsho.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, thanks for raising that. Yeah. So again, when we built Capture, it was like not only did we want to make it sound like people, really learn how it is that they like to write. But we're like, again, we can, you can go to any AI, you can go to ChatGPT and just create any kind of social media post or whatever. But it was like, how do we actually help people get results? Because at the end of the day, if they're not getting results, they're not going to want to keep using Capture. And so that's exactly why we leaned on some really, really great friends of ours now who are experts. Katie Brinkley, who you're talking about from Next Step Social Communications, she talks about posting less, like how to grow more by posting less. And that immediately is like, yes, please. Like, who wouldn't want to post less? And which is her 4-post social media strategy. And we built that into Capsho. The same thing. We spend a lot of time with the likes of Roberto Blake, who's a big YouTube creator, really honing and optimizing YouTube descriptions. We spent some time with, the likes of Dane Burden, etc., on the SEO side from a blogging perspective. Vinny Potosero from a LinkedIn. He doesn't like to say he's a LinkedIn expert, but he really he really is. We really spent a lot of time with these experts to really make the content that Capsho creates not just sound like you, but actually structured and optimized in a way that will get results on those platforms that you choose to be on. So yeah, that's some of the magic that we did put into Capsho. And by the way, I'm never going to say that I'm an expert in any of those things, which is why it was really important to lean on the people who actually do it day in and day out. And that's what we did. We built that into Capsho.
Well, you also are an expert with your honey trap method that you've also built into, like you've combined that into all these strategies. And I don't want the podcaster out there to think like, hey, this is one big ad. If you're not using AI, you're going to get left behind at this point. That's the truth. Like you're going to make it harder on yourself. And I know that there's so many things out there, like depending on like where you're at. Oh, AI is this, but you've got to start somewhere because I think that as we grow, you're going to need more. If you're going to be a podcaster, you're going to need to be in more places. And if
Yeah.
you are an indie podcaster and you're a solo podcaster and you don't have someone like me, a producer or someone that's in your team, like doing your social media or whatever, you have to find a way to make it easy. And that's really like why I wanted to bring you on, is because not all AI is created equal. If we can find somebody who like Capsho, I call you my AI VA because
Yes.
it's like you're in my brain. It's like you found a way to clone me so that I don't have to be writing all of these things. I love to write. I write books all the time, but I don't have time to do all of that. So I
Yeah.
love that you have created something that the industry experts have all come in and wrapped this up into something. And like I said, I get excited every time it's like something new is coming. I'm like, I probably have I'm one of your success rates of every email I open. I'm like, yes, what are we getting now? Okay, Jen, you can't use that right now, but you will use it in the future.
Yeah. And to your point, just to pick up where you left off when you were saying, even creating some of like, it's hard to be everywhere because it's not just about the text that's getting written, but it's also about the images that you have to create or the clips that you have to find. And we're on that journey with, you can tell, with our Capshovians. And so those are a couple of the new things that we actually did build into Capsho. And I know, Jen, you are a big user of our image generator. And so I would love I'd love for you to jump in and actually tell people about how you use the image generation tool inside of Capsho.
So there's like so many cool things. And this is again why like I think that Capsho, nothing else out on the market's gonna, like, you don't have a competitor because there's not something else doing that. And again, I'm not saying that to you podcasters to like get over and buy it or whatever. But like, if you're not, you're whatever, you're wasting your money on all these other things. And I will say that, and I will stand behind that, and I'll get canceled for that because like, I don't care. It's true. But the image generator, I'll just give you the quick story. I was struggling. Like, I was like, I can't talk about podcasting ever again. And I had my divorce finalized and I needed something else. I needed an alter ego. And I just was like, okay, what will my alter ego look like? And I went into Capsho's image generator and I just started typing words of what I thought this alter ego was going to look like. And like, design a woman, give me an image of a woman with all these characteristics. And bam, my other brand was born. Because I was like, oh
Wow.
my goodness, that's there. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. So it's my dog's name, my horse's name. And then I saw a fox that day. So I'm like, okay, so that's her name, is like all those things combined together. But just sitting there, like, it helped me on like a emotional level to have something, because again, other image generators, couldn't get that from. I tried and I'm like, well, Capsho, this is new. I haven't played with it yet. And then once I realized that was the case, what I can do now with my episodes, because I'm getting into YouTube, is I can go in there with like kind of branded colors and ask it all these things, and it gives me images. So it also rebranded my Your Story is Someone's Life Raft with this really cool picture that, like, now for my photo shoots that are being set up, we're actually going to use those as inspiration versus Pinterest, because I
Wow.
can kind of type in the vibe and the feeling, and like, yes, it's great for YouTube covers. It's great to go with your social media posts, and it can kind of learn, like, what you want. You just have to learn to talk to AI. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't understand is I've spent a lot of time talking to AI. I'm like,
Yeah.
AI can be my best friend. But the image generator is so different from like other ones that I'm in. It's so realistic, and it
Mm.
listens. And I've only once got a third arm on a human, where I feel like that happens on all the other platforms all the time. It's like you're missing an arm or a leg, or an arm's coming out of somebody's nose or something. And like, I don't know, again, it's something that you've built in that I really feel that it's great. And again, with your podcast or your YouTube, type in the core theme and it'll pop up images you didn't even think of. And you're like, that is epic.
Mm.
Okay, that is part of my brand.
Yeah. And I think that's a cool thing about when we talk about AI and how it can actually help us. And again, people who aren't on AI are going to be left behind. I think what you mentioned is really the crux of it, which is I find that how I use AI is to come up with things like I never would have thought about, because we're so in our own heads and we only know what we know, right? Like that's just fact. And so being able to almost like get it out, get the seed out of your head, give it to AI and let AI build upon it, or even like wow you. Because honestly, even the text assets that we generate, so many people look at those and are either like, oh my gosh, I said that, like, man, I sound a lot smarter than I thought I was, or it's like it took a different perspective that they're like, this is so, like, I could actually create a whole nother episode just on this dot point or this thing that, AI or Capsho has actually, this just kind of like tendrilled out of an existing episode. And so it's just, I think that's really the power of it. It actually unlocks, I find, more creativity than it does stifle it.
Yeah, as long as you stay in your lane and don't try to use all your assets. So
Yes,
I'm going to keep
yes.
reminding
Keep
people
going.
that, like, don't use all their assets because you
Yes,
will be overwhelmed. It's
yeah,
amazing, but don't use everything. But I think,
yes.
like, to your point of like talking to it, is like, once I created that second alter ego through the image, I just started talking, like recording an episode, but it wasn't an episode. It was like, this person does this person does this person does this, blah, 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 blah. And from those assets, I was able to like build out an outline of a book. And then I ended up writing the book in 72 hours, because it was like my unorganized, multi passionate brain was so stuck in one land. But I had
Yes.
enough that I could get words out that Capsho somehow made sense of. And so, like, I think that it's a tool that, like, I'm using it in weird ways that your most Capshovians might not be using it in. But I think that not only can it help you as your podcast grows, but I think that there's this AI piece that you have built in that makes Capsho so unique that it's like it can unscramble your scrambled thoughts, which maybe
Mhm.
you're stuck on an episode and you're like, here's all these different ideas, blah, 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 blah. You try to put them in somewhere else and they start putting all this weird stuff and you're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
But Capsho, I talk, put it in there. I have it spit stuff out and I can look through the blog posts, the LinkedIn posts, the checklists. Those
Hmm.
checklists are great if you need to organize your thoughts, speak out all your thoughts, and then look at the checklist
Yeah.
because that asset that comes out of there will organize your thought and that checklist will be episodes for each one of those ideas because Capsho figures out all this clutter in my head. I don't know
Yeah.
how it does it, but it does.
That is
So
so cool. Yeah, because I know of other Capshovians who they would just literally just record like a 2 minute. They'll go on a walk and record like a 2 minute thing. Like this is my thought of the day, and then they'll put into Capsho. And but I love how you like your use case, which is like, okay, well I've got my alter ego. Now I'm just going to talk things out. And I don't know, Jen, like what was the for you? What was the inspiration for those things, or like what? How did you think about? Okay, this is what I want to just verbalize somewhere, and then you put into Capsho. Like, how did you get that starting inspiration of things to talk about?
I just knew kind of like a core concept based off of her image was fierce. I was like, oh, right. Okay, if
Mm.
I was this lady, what would I want to know about? Like,
Hmm.
what would I want to talk about? And then I started adding in, of course, like everything's going to come back to your story. So I started talking about like, okay, if she was me, if this was if my alter's ego alters ego, because my alter ego has an alter ego. Yes, we're that far in, but what would she have done in my situation? So I kind of looked back at like my life and I talked to it like, okay, like this is how she was, this is what she did, this is like this is how she's working, and like I literally rambled. And it was
Wow.
just like everything that I thought could have been different if I had this other alter ego's persona in like stories of my life. And then it started getting wild from there because then you start like, it's like when you're reading a book, you're like, oh, let's develop this character. Let's develop this character. And it's like, oh no, she's going from this business to this business. And she's got her alter ego in the book. And then her two worlds collide and everything crumbles. And then there's a love story. And it like, I just started spilling Capsho all this random stuff. And it was like,
That's so
here's a
crazy.
checklist of what you talked about. And I was like, hey, that's kind of like an outline for a book. Maybe I should write a book. And then I wrote a book. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
it's very interesting if you just find us. It feels like a safe space to just be like, let out all your random thoughts. Like it doesn't have to be in order. You don't have to think of like, oh, and then what's next in our story? Then what's next in the story? Like
Yeah.
for writers, I think it would be so great if you have like all these ideas in your head to get all that jumble out. It also helps you sleep, right? Because you're not constantly overthinking everything. You've gotten it out and somebody's figuring out what to do with it. Is figuring it out because you've built your persona.
Yeah. That is so cool. Wow, that's a cool case. We're going to borrow that, Jen, as a case study. How to write a book in 72 hours, literally for, yeah, your
Yeah.
alter ego. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard of that happening inside a Capsho. But that's the magic of it. Like, honestly, I love hearing all these different ways that people use it because yes, Capsho was originally built for podcasters and then also for YouTubers or people who do video, who create video content. But more and more, it's just that, like, I'll call it streams of consciousness, just like talking out streams of consciousness. AI and the way that Jen's used Capsho is that is a perfect use case for technology like this, is just to actually, as you said, organize the scramble that is in someone's brain. So thanks for sharing. That's an amazing, amazing case study.
And I'm like, and I know most podcasters might not be out there thinking they're like, okay, well, I was thinking of using Capsho for your copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for that, whether it's an organized episode or you are so scattered. And for the multi-passions that's out there, like it's hard sometimes. And we get into these other AI platforms. And I know that I've done this and I've talked to them and then they spit something out and it's like totally off in left field. And
Mm.
I'm like, I didn't even think of it that way. And then that scrambles your brain and makes it even worse. Where I feel like Capsho, it's like I've trained it enough with my podcast episodes in there that it kind of understands me. I feel like it's like a separate, like if I could clone myself, like Capsho would be the closest thing to a clone. I'm going to keep saying
Yeah.
a clone of mine because I don't know. I just, there's something different about Capsho, and I really do feel that AI has propelled my business forward. And again, there's so much in the media right now where we're kind of afraid. I'm afraid of robots. I'm not going to lie. But I think that as a independent business owner, as an independent podcaster, as an independent YouTuber, or somebody who's trying to get their message out in the world, I really do feel like AI is the way of the future. As an AI, somebody who's built an AI like service, do you feel that's like true, or is that just me talking from my butt?
No, I am actually scared of it. It's I'm kind of part of the problem, yes, but I'm truly scared of like where, yeah, it is going to head. We talk about, all in the kind of nerdy-ish AI spaces, like the concept of singularity, when the machines kind of become smarter than humans, and that's kind of almost like the Terminator moment. And I don't even think that that's a if anymore. Like that's going to become a when. And so I am actually, a little bit scared of what is coming down the pipe for sure.
But I think that we can, in the meantime, let's use it as like our advantage.
100%. 100%. I think just because we're scared of I definitely have a very pragmatic approach to, especially technology things. It's going to happen anyway. I think regardless of if we want to stop it. And I know there's a lot of things around privacy and people shying away from certain things. And it's like, yes, but these things will happen anyway. And so in the meantime, it's like, well, you kind of have to take the good with the bad. So how do you just kind of capitalize on the good stuff now when you can, knowing or being aware that, yes, there is something that's coming, and just I don't think we can necessarily be ready for it in terms of start to stock our, basement with cans of tuna or whatever else. Like I don't think it's quite like that, but just being aware that at some point we might need to shift the way that we think or do things. But as it is right now, it's like, hey, this thing is here to help us. It's here to make our lives easier. Let's just use it. Let's use it for that.
Yeah. And I think that there is also the piece of learning to work with AI, because that I think, like, I'm learning because I just started a group and I have a bunch of people in my Bold Action Collective right now, and they're just starting to tease out AI, and they're like, I don't know how you get all that information you get. And I'm like, you have to train yourself to talk to AI because
100%.
it's so different. But that's what makes Capsho different, is you don't have, like, yeah, the personas get set up, but I feel like it trains itself because you're talking to it, and then it's picking up like your random words, how you're saying things, the inflection. I almost feel like it knows my tone sometimes, because sometimes it'll spit out like a super professional, like polished show notes, and sometimes it's really casual, and I'm like, I feel like it picks up my tone also. I don't know if that's true or not, or if that's just in my head.
Yeah. No,
but
that's what it's designed to do. Yeah, for sure.
So how is Capsho? I've shared all of my stories of how I use Capsho. It's great for production side. If you're a producer out there, like, hey, you can up your load without having to up your staff, because let me tell you, I have hired VAs and I have spent good money. Like, I have hired high level VAs that don't give me the quality that Capsho gives me, and it's a way more affordable. And I just, how, in your words, like from your marketing standpoint, like how is Capsho helping the podcaster, the YouTuber, the person that's trying to share their story? Like, how is that, like, how is for you from your side? Because I can tell people all day, and I will. And if you were at Podfest, you know that I was the crazy person with the dragon that was chasing you around asking you if you've tried Capsho.
Oh, we love you, Jen. Well, I think we really hit on a lot of the important parts, but when you bundle that up, so the important parts being it's self-learning, so it learns as you use the platform. It also has marketing strategies inbuilt into it. And it also actually allows you to create the original persona. But in terms of like, you can tell it, hey, I'm this person. This is who my audience is. So it already knows how it is, like who it is that you're targeting. So it will already start to take that into account when it actually drafts things. So when you put all of that into a pot, in terms of like to answer your question about how it is that Capsho actually helps. It's all about results driven AI, because AI for AI's sake is, as you would know, it's just like, nah, it's just giving me more things. Great, but how useful is it? But when you put into from a time saving perspective, because it learns as you go, you're already saving so much time as the more that you use Capsho, because yes, you do have to read it, you do have to edit it, you do have to make tweaks, but that becomes less and less and less the more that you use the platform. And then you overlay that with, hey, here's some marketing strategies that are proven. Because again, we've spoken and we've worked with people who know what it is that they're doing in that space, like in social media, in for blogging, and all of that on YouTube, in even for the podcast show notes. Like, we've worked with people who are experts, and so those assets that Capsho creates are designed to actually get you results. They're actually designed to have your audience, to either build your audience or have that audience take action. A really good example is we worked with, so when you talk about the checklist, so the checklist we created because, it really, at the end of the day, it's kind of, you can use it in a whole host of ways, which Jen does clearly. But one of the very basic uses of it is, hey, put this stuff into like a tool like Canva or something, it's therefore as a lead magnet. But a lead magnet on its own doesn't really do anything, right? So we actually worked with Jenna from Group Track CRM to create the 3 Facebook posts that actually go with the lead magnet. And those 3 Facebook posts are designed to get people to raise their hands when you create a post to say me, like, hey, yes, I'm interested in this thing. I want this thing. And that is, so when you think about a strategy like that, it's like, we're using Facebook or social media now specifically to get our audience to take an action. And this is really important because this is actually what gets us results. Because if we just post or posting's sake, like, we're not going to get anyone doing anything. No one's going to care, right? But if we actually have a strategy that sits behind it that works and is proven, then that's actually how we're going to help people get results. And that's what we've done with Capsho. That's why it is so different.
And I think that that's, again, another part that sets you apart, is because most of us are like the heart-centered, like, we have a message to share. We are not marketers. So we are just going off of the million coaches, the million free courses we've taken, the Dr. Google, how do you make a freebie? And how do I get people to sign up for my freebie? Okay, now what do I put in I feel like Capsho is kind of, it really is like a VA, but it's a high level VA. It's like almost like your OBM. Like, it's not
your
just
marketing assistant.
Your marketing assistant, your OBM, like, they can manage so many things, and you can really decide like where is your audience. So like, as I'm shifting into this like YouTube era and trying to be a speaker on stages and get on TED Talks and stuff like that, I have to breathe through that even saying that out loud. But I feel like Capsho's giving me the positioning, because I can position on different platforms, because it is very different content. When you look at it, it's like what's supposed to go on Meta is not the same kind of content that you have that it designs for LinkedIn. It's not the same. Your description for your podcast is not the same as YouTube. And it's so interesting to me that it pulls all these different things, because again, I've tried other platforms and they're like, okay, it's the same, but formatted a little differently. And I feel like Capsho really recreates, and again, like you said, you've worked with the experts and you've trained it to be like, okay, this is for this audience. But I feel like it really can set you up in like so many ways, whether it's a playful brand or it's hey, I want to be a speaker on a professional stage. It sets you apart without having to understand the marketing strategies. Because like you said, you just built it in. Here's your freebie. Here's some posts to get you to buy the freebie. There's also emails in there. There's like all these different things that you can use. Okay, now I've got them on my freebie. What am I going to do? Okay, great. I'm glad that Capsho puts out an email, because I sure wouldn't be. There's like so many things that like are helpful in there. I don't use them all right now because I've learned focus.
Please don't. Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah.
But I have checked them all out, and it's like I haven't even checked out clipping yet, because I'm like, okay, stay in my lane.
Yeah.
So I know that like we had talked about, it's overwhelming because you still had to repurpose everything and come up with the images. We kind of went through Capsho does create images for you now, and they're pretty awesome when you learn how to talk to the AI. But what is clipping? Because I haven't played there yet.
Yeah, so clipping so our clipping studio is basically you go in, it only works for video uploads because of that's what it clips. And you can ask it, so you can be like, I want you to find the funniest moments or the most inspiring moments or what, and basically Capsho will go through your video and it'll clip 5-ish clips that answer that prompt, essentially, if you want to call it that. And the cool thing as well is not only will it find those 30 to 60-second clips and show you the transcript, so you can very easily go, because it's never gonna, again, it's AI, it's never gonna nail all of them, so it'll probably give you a couple of really good ones that you can use, so you can very easily look at the transcript and be like, that captures provided with the clips and be like, oh, that's the good 30-second one that I'm going to use. But it also provides headlines and hooks and, really short social media captions as well that can go along with those clips. So it's a pretty cool feature that, I'd love people to check out, give us feedback on. We do have some feedback and we're going to work those in over time, but it's a really cool starting point right now to just get content out there.
And I think that again, I'm going to keep saying this, and like people are going to think I'm a broken record. Like that's another thing that sets you apart is that you listen to the feedback. You can send feedback to all these other companies, and you're going to end up in some inbox, and nobody cares. Like Capsho has grown so much in the last. I mean, I think I've been in for like 2 years. I don't know, because I wasn't right in the beginning, but I was close to the beginning.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Do you have one of these, Jen?
Sure.
There you go. You're a year one, OG. When we turned one, we
I'm
sent
like,
those out
it's
to our
actually
Capsho
sits on my
viewers.
desk, and I didn't put it here because it's actually, you can tell it's well used. But yes, and I think that I love that you've listened and that it's the users got to become part of like the quote unquote building team without having to know anything about tech. Thank God. Thank you for that. But it was like, you could actually come in and say things. And I feel like that's still how Capsho runs, is it's like, if you're a user of Capsho and there's something that needs to be tweaked, you send in a ticket, and like all of a sudden that's in the next, I feel like that's in the next like version upgrade. It's like, oh, well, now this happens. And it's like, I just asked about that. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now things are going to take a little bit longer, only because we're working on like really much more complex, I would say, upgrades and features. We're not quite working at the rate that we probably used to, but yeah, there's some really cool things still coming down.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm like anxiously awaiting the emails. Like some stuff kind of got teased out, and I'm like, this has been a cliffhanger, guys. What's going on? I need to know what my cliffhanger is. But I'm really grateful for you, because I think that this is such a helpful tool, and for podcasters, for YouTubers, for people who are into like the long form content, whether that's video or audio. And at this point, like as I'm getting into YouTube, I'm like, hey, there are specific strategies for each platform, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I feel like either way, if you're giving Capsho content, like I said, it helped me develop my book and outline my book, because it helps with the ramblings that are in your head. And sometimes we can't afford to have the coach. We can't afford to have the marketing tech. We don't have the social media team. We don't have the producer team and like all these things. And I'm going to have to check out Clips, because all the other clip services that I've seen, it's like, you tell it how long, but you don't get to give it a prompt and say like, this is like my funniest moment, or like, what was that one mic drop that I could walk away in 30 seconds? Like, that seems very original for your platform too. I haven't used a lot of those softwares because I do it myself, but I'm like, oh, well, why am I doing it myself?
Definitely give it a go, because as I said, it's not going to nail all of the clips, but you'll be able, like one or two that are going to be like, oh, that's good. I want to post that.
I love that. So, because I am all about bold actions now and taking bold actions that only take 15 minutes of someone's time, what is a bold action that someone could take today, other than getting on and trying Capsho?
I was going to say, Capsho.
Other than trying Capsho, because I also know that you have a lot of like the marketing and all the strategy stuff. Besides, everyone who's listened this far has obviously already gone over and purchased Capsho and is on the free trial and uploading. They probably already turned us off at this point. What is that 15-minute action that somebody as a podcaster can take today that would be one action that would move them forward?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, gosh, I could answer this in so many different ways. But what I'm going to say is if you know, what I would do is go through your back catalog or your community. So it might be a guest that you've had onto your podcast, or it might just be someone in your community or a client of yours. I would just reach out to them and thank them for having either been part of your podcast or being part of your community or in your world. Like, it's a really simple thing, but I just feel like we don't do that enough. And that can unlock just that one action. I think, and I actually know because I've done this before, it can unlock things that you didn't even think would happen, whether that's going to be new opportunities, getting introduced to someone else, maybe getting a new client on, whatever it is. But just that simple act of going back and reaching out to someone and thanking them for something that, they probably, even for them, was like, well, this was a no-brainer. Why are you thanking me? Can just unlock something complete that you wouldn't have even thought about.
Oh, I love that, because it is. I mean, like, this is one of the most powerful networking tools. Mm-hmm. And we forget that because it seems like we're in this wham bam, like, I want to say wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
You're out. And I think that that's so important. So your 15-minute action is to reach out to as many people from your past in the next 15 minutes and say thank you and just restart those conversations. I love that. That is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for sharing. Obviously, all of Capsho's information is in the show notes because, I mean, I really think you're missing out if you're not on the AI boat. Yeah. Well, the right AI boat, because the wrong AI boat could be a sinking ship that's going to leave you stranded in the middle of the ocean.
And I just wanted to, Jen, for your audience, if they use if you're going to sign up for a free trial, go do that. You can go to capsho.com, sign up for an account. But when you set your account up, put in the code Jennifer and you will get 50% off your subscription for life. That's, So instead of $99 a month, it's going to be $49 a month for you just by using the code Jennifer. That's something that, I'm really honored to provide to your audience, Jen.
Oh, I am so excited that. So we're going to also plug that during the episode for sure, so that people know to grab that code, because I mean, a VA was costing me more than that per episode. And if I had to have a marketing person and everything else, I mean, I really feel like $50 a month for your entire marketing team. Like, you're missing out, people.
Yeah.
Go over, buy Capsho.
Yes.
Get on now.
Do it now. Do it now.
Not just because I have a code. I'm not just saying that. Like, I truly love Capsho and I truly appreciate everything. Like, I know I fall off every once in a while because we all do. And it was 2024 was kind of a rough year, but I always appreciated that every time I came back, Capsho was there for me. And I'm just so grateful for you, for Bana, for everybody on Team Capsho and all the Capshovians, because it's not just an AI software. There's a community built behind it, and you will never be left behind, and you will never be alone if you become a Capshovian, ever. Yes. You don't get to. They won't let you. I promise.
Definitely not. Yeah, we are annoying that way.
It's a good kind of annoying. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate what you're doing for podcasters.
Oh, thank you so much, Jen. Thanks so much for having me on. And, as always, as you said, we're bonded for life. So we love you. Can't wait to keep going on this journey together.